Antioxidants are becoming very popular medical jargon in the healthcare news and with the general public. Yet this subject is very complicated. There's so much information on this subject that it's almost impossible to know what you can depend on that'll help you be protected against getting diseases such as heart attacks, strokes, cancer, and diabetes. We have with us here today one of the world's leading experts in nutrition, Dr. Richard Kunin, who is going to make this easy to understand.
Yeah, good luck,
Dr.
Kunin.
You'll do it.
All right, let me introduce Dr. Kunin to our listeners. First of all, he had his postgraduate training after medical school at UCSF in San Francisco and at Stanford University. He's the president of the Orthomolecular Health Medicine Society. He's been a pioneer in nutritional medicine for going on 4 decades now. He's the author of Mega Nutrition, and he has a medical practice in San Francisco. Dr. Kunin, this is kind of a complicated subject, but let's start with some of the basics. What's an antioxidant? How do they work? Why do we need them?
Well, if you had a fire in your house, you'd call the fire department, and they'd spritz it with water or carbon dioxide foam or something that would put out the flames.
Sure.
The body works on oxygen just like that fire does.
So it burns in its cells, in the mitochondria.
Now you got it. And that I knew you'd get it someday. Thank you, Len.
Yeah.
And oxidation has to be controlled or else there's damage. The damage, particularly the strategic, it damages a lot, but the strategic damage, the part that's most studied, is membrane damage. Either damage of the membranes inside the cell, like the mitochondria themselves, that burn out, and when they burn out, the cell dies. Or then there's lesser damage of the outside cell membrane, which is more readily repaired.
Well, what are some of the things that can cause this?
So antioxidants are an absolute requirement in order to repair the membranes, to reverse the peroxidation and allow the cells then to go through another process called healing.
Okay.
And so the antioxidants are the buffer first, and then there's the healing process.
Now, we've got our own antioxidants inside the body.
That's right.
But we also take them in from the outside. Why do we need to take antioxidants from the outside?
Well, evidently Mother Nature's smarter than we are. And so we know what happens if we don't eat. We die.
And we're also exposed to a lot of toxic things, too.
Well, of course, but the outside antioxidants are just there because it's a good deal. Mother Nature said it. I mean, however, whatever it is, what is. It's not that we argue it. That's the point, that they are there in food. Particularly, we now recognize in the microcosm that vitamin C is a leading food-related antioxidant. That vitamin E, more recently recognized, is equally important as a longer-lasting kind of a membranes antioxidant. Vitamin C, being water-soluble, goes both outside and inside cells, so it's got a special power. And then selenium turns out to be strategically increasingly recognized and appreciated because it vitalizes and regenerates and activates all three, the powerful glutathione mechanism. It's a good word to remember, glutathione, because we know that across the species, the more glutathione you've got in your system, the longer you're likely to live.
How do you get glutathione?
Your body has to make it. So it's got a genetic basis, but it's a genetic interaction with food that has to provide it has to provide the sulfur.
What foods make you make it?
Well, this will surprise you. The foods that are richest in the precursor substance for glutathione are animal proteins. And this may be why the study that intrigued me was one Mark Lappé, former health hazards chief of California, told us about the highway workers in California. They studied them carefully. Those who had exposure to the herbicides and got neuropathy, their nerves shriveled up and died, were vegetarians predominantly. Whereas those in the same crews who were carnivores and omnivores and had more of these sulfur amino acids did not lose. They had a much greater resistance to neuropathy. It just tells you that there was a protective substance in the body that protected against the environmental insult.
So often we hear about free radicals associated with antioxidants, that's why you take antioxidants. Can you just talk a little bit about what a free radical is and how we get them?
Well, exactly. A free radical is a molecule that has a certain complexity, and maybe we should get it down to as a part of that molecule, an element or an atom that has lost an electron in its outer shell. So it's got an unbalanced electronic structure. Unbalanced electronic structure translates, it is reactive. It will form chemical reactions. And it will form them with such a speed that the body cannot stop those chemical reactions perfectly. So they can do damage there. This is the key point. Those free radicals cause damage by being chemically reactive. By having vitamin C or vitamin E right there all the time, they will do the reacting. They act as sort of like they're sacrificed. The food will take the place of your body's cell membranes and protect your membranes from being fried. Let's put it that way.
They're protecting you.
That's right.
Yeah, see, the body when it makes energy, it also produces these free radicals. It's a natural part of the energy-producing process. And so when we have antioxidants in our own natural system, that buffers against it, so it takes care of the damage that those things will do to us. But if we make too many, or if we're sick, or we're exposed to toxic chemicals, then we have to do something more. And now we're looking at products that you might use. What kinds of substances, what kinds of antioxidants, what balance should they be in? Which ones should be in a product? Because our listeners are out there wondering, where can I get a product that's going to solve the problems that I have?
Sure. Well, it took me 35 years of study and work with patients in the nutrition medicine field, and a couple of years focused especially on how to make a product that people would actually want to use.
Well, I know you've done this, and that's why we invited you today.
The Ololoa strategy, which was to put vitamin C in a generous amount, and coenzyme Q, because the coenzyme Q supports the chemical reactions of the body that produce antioxidants, particularly protons, which are right there in the mitochondria, protecting the mitochondria from damage. And then there's also the production of, or the provision of selenium, and we go a step further. In order to repair damage if it does occur, we added folic acid and B12, which are part of the cell repair cycles called methylation, and along with it a very ingenious plant product called betaine. Short for or long for beets. And the betaine turns out to be a fail-safe backup folic acid. It provides a methyl group that makes the whole system work better.
So why is folic acid so important? You're always talking about folic acid, and you're relating it to a lot of damage that occurs in the body that is related to it?
Two reasons. Well, first of all, folic acid is so important that women with a folic acid deficiency can't even give birth successfully. They either have a miscarriage or babies are born with unfortunate defects.
And even the FDA has come out and said we need a certain amount every day.
So this is now mainstream thought. It's not just a revolutionary idea anymore. But the other part of it is that folic acid is the most common B vitamin deficiency. And so to have an extra source of it is really the best form of health insurance and the best anti-aging insurance I know. But even that's not enough, because what with oxidizing agents in the diet and in the foods and the preservatives and colors and in the water, the chlorines and the fluorides and solvents that are there, even in the air, the smog.
Tens of thousands of compounds.
And the medications we take, all of the above,
have to be
destroy
detoxified.
folic acid more than people realize. I'm measuring it now, and we're seeing this is indeed literally an epidemic of the first proportions. And so those who have folic acid problems need the TMG as an extra guarantee that their body is as good as that of a caveman.
And what's TMG?
TMG is thank you, the other word for betaine. We gave it initials, trimethylglycine, the chemical term. But the general nutritional word for it, betaine, is the same as the chemical word, trimethylglycine. Now, and it works. This is amazing advance in
a lot of
nutrition.
this is related to homocysteine metabolism, which a lot of people don't know much about. But that particular amino acid is very much involved with producing inflammation in the body and causing the plaque that forms in arteriosclerosis and in strokes and kidney disease. But it's also important in the production of cancer. How is this such a central thing? How does it relate together with a quick overview?
Simply this. The higher the homocysteine, the lower the methylation, and the more likely it is that you've got a interference with or a weakening of the folic acid methylation system. Folic acid B12 betaine system. It's weakened. If you give enough betaine, you can overcome it. Betaine is so powerful. Mother Nature evidently developed this as a fallback evolutionary protection, because when we're starving, we don't get B12 and folic acid. Folic acid will run out in a week or two. Whereas that's when you start when you're starving, you dig around in the soil, you find roots, and those roots are full of betaine. That's what you eat when you're starving.
Well, you've taken this a level deeper too, because there's an awful lot of people who don't make enough folic acid and don't make enough so that they're able to keep the free radicals that are formed down low enough, or to keep us in a state where the homocysteine levels stay normal, and so we wind up getting into lots of trouble.
Well, exactly so. But we don't oversimplify too far. Homocysteine by itself is a complicated subject, as you were already indicating.
Yes.
And the key thing to know is that folic acid and B12, particularly folic acid, the most common deficiency, by taking an everyday source, most normal people will have a better health and a better life. It's very straight away, because it controls multiple underlying systems: energy, mood, repair of nerve, protection against cancer, immune competence. I've seen sinuses clear up, bowel problems improve just by that. There are so many other things you can do, but so many things get better just with this single major nutrition support system.
And it sounds so simple.
Well, it is simple once you know it, like so many things. And I made it simple by putting it into a single product, Olaloa. You couldn't do it in a pill because you can't get enough of it in a pill. Olaloa provides in one drinkable vitamin product a pleasant tasting, complete package that will give you a gram of C, a gram of trimethylglycine, a gram of glycine, which again enhances your glutathione and antioxidant protection. It goes on. And coenzyme Q and N-acetylcysteine, all these key substances that those of your listeners who've had some experience with nutrition will recognize, gee, they have to take a separate pill for every one of those things. So here you are, all in Olaloa.
I really want to thank you. And normally, on this show, we don't promote products. And we're not affiliated with your company in any way. And I just want to let our listeners know that. And the reason I'm so sold on this, and take it myself, and so does Vicki, is because we believe that it's really adding a service that you normally don't find, an easy one to find. It gets so confusing. So in today's world, because of the poor quality of the foods we eat, the increase in toxic exposures, we need to use supplements that have vitamins and antioxidants. For more information about Olaloa, you can go to www.drinkyourvitamins.com. And to consult with Dr. Kunin, you can call his office at 415-346-2500. That's 415-346-2500. Thanks, Dr. Kunin.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. There's Vicki and Len.